Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. Each episode will bring you in-depth discussion with experts, community leaders, and analysts who will share their insights, experiences, and predictions. From local elections to global diplomacy, we'll provide you with the tools and perspectives you'll need to navigate today's real-world landscape.
Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. I'm Lisa Chafee.
And I'm Michael Nash.
So today, Mike, we are talking with Katie DeLand, who brings over 20 years of experience in both public service and government affairs, serving as the Ohio Director for Duane Morris Government Strategy since 2007.
Oh.
She began her foray in public services when she was selected to serve as a congressional page for the United States House of Representatives while in high school for Congressman John Boehner, who later became Speaker of the House. Upon her return to Ohio, Katie managed her first Ohio State House campaign and worked as a House page and legislative aide for now State Auditor Keith Faber before entering the private sector. She is active in politics and was appointed to the Ohio Republican Party State Central Committee, representing the 12th Senate District in 2017, and served as the Assistant Treasurer for the ORP until 2022. She is also one of the youngest county chairwomen in the state, serving as the Darke County Republican Party Chair since 2020, and is a graduate of the Joanne Davidson Ohio Leadership Institute. She is one of 3 female founders of Ohio Women Lead Right, a statewide organization dedicated to supporting conservative women. Locally, she sits on the board of directors for the Darke County Chamber of Commerce, serves as chairman of the Darke County Chamber's Legislative Committee, and is secretary for both the North Star Community Association and St. Louis Catholic Church Parish Council.
In her free time.
Yeah, I thought I was busy. Katie's got me beat tenfold. Katie, how are you?
Good. I'm good. It's the end of summer, and my kids are going back to school next week, and so life is good.
There you go. So
Right.
You've got kids age range 17 down to what?
17 down to 9. So we joke, my husband and I, we're in the even and the odd years. So this year's the odd. So we have a 17, 15, 13, 11, and 9-year-old.
Wow.
There we go.
And that'll keep you busy.
That will keep you busy. That's right. So all of, most anything in parenting at any stage of parenting, we've seen it or are going through it right now. So, which helps, especially when you work in, as you know, Lisa, you work in public policy, you're able to relate firsthand on what some of these bills are trying to do, and if it really makes sense or if it's just not realistic. It gives you a very unique perspective into that.
Katie, tell us about Ohio Women Lead Right and how it came into existence, and where can we find out more information?
Sure. Ohio Women Lead Right came into evolution after the 2020 elections, when all we heard as conservative women was that we did not belong in the Republican Party, that our party was chauvinistic and it suppressed our vote and minimized us, and we had no place in the Republican Party. And you and I know, Lisa, that could not be further from the truth. And so at that time, Jane Timken, who I served with when she was the chairman of the Ohio Republican Party, and then Lisa Sticken, who is the Cuyahoga County Republican Party chairwoman, and then myself, we all modeled this group after a similar group in the state of Georgia. They had a group down there called Georgia Women Lead Right. And again, really what it does, it just empowers conservative women to take a bigger leadership stance in all aspects of life, in business, in agriculture, in schools, in politics. And so it really served to kind of reassure conservative women out there, absolutely, you are not alone. We are here too. We're going to call foul on this. This is our party and we belong in it. We are we share these values, and we very much want to support Republican candidates and that platform. So we created this as a nonprofit, and we've been working kind of slowly. It, ebbs and starts because we're all busy and we all have kids and families and jobs and whatever. And actually, since that time, Jane Timken was appointed to the Ohio Senate. So she is now State Senator Timken, and she had to step down from her leadership role with Ohio Women Lead Right. And Meredith Friedoff, who is the Franklin County Republican Party chairwoman that you work with, Lisa, she is now our third director of Ohio Women Lead Right. So Meredith, Lisa, and I are all female county chairs in very different geographic areas. Lisa and Meredith are chairs in urban counties, Franklin and Cuyahoga County. Lisa is a practicing attorney. Meredith is she's got a strong grassroots and business background. And then I live in Western Ohio, very rural Ohio. I have 5 kids, and, I work in government affairs. So we really work well together in kind of understanding our different bubbles of the world and how to reach women in kind of all aspects of life. So we're I should say, again, we try to be as active as we can on Twitter and on Facebook. We've got Ohio Women Lead Right handles and Facebook pages. And I'm actually looking at it. I think our website is ohiowomenleadright.org. And so definitely would encourage anyone listening to reach out to us. We're trying to think of new ideas. We've done different panels around the state. I know Jane came out last winter and we did a ag discussion with females in ag. She went up to the Cleveland area and did a roundtable on females in business. She is a attorney herself, so we have a strong legal female following. But again, really just assuring women out there that conservative women are supported and understood, and there's many more of us out here than what the mainstream media wants you to believe.
That sounds very exciting. Even though you guys have been around for a few years now, I'm actually just learning about Ohio Women Lead Right, and I'm looking forward to being more involved myself with you guys. And Meredith Friedoff, you can't go wrong there. Of course, she's kind of my boss, so I'm secretary of the Franklin County Republican Party.
He said great things about you, Lisa, so we love you.
Oh, well, thank you. So let's talk about Senator Michelle Reynolds has introduced Senate Bill 167, which is a spinoff, if you will, previous bill that tried to get passed that got thrown out, basically. Tell us about it, and then let's dive into it.
Sure. So actually, Michelle Reynolds has Senate Bill 167, and Melanie Miller has House Bill 226. So they're companion bills. They're they're the exact same language. They're just introduced in separate chambers to try to expedite it. And really, it empowers and tries to simplify social media for minors. And it would require age verification at the App Store level. So it's kind of that one-stop shop model where you get a new phone, and when you're setting it up in your App Store, you enter your birth date one time. And so I know with my kids, they're smart. I mean, they know exactly the moment to strike when I'm distracted or I'm tired or when I'm busy, and they run up to you and they want to download a new app, and you're torn and you're like, I got to look into this. I don't know what this is, but you're on the phone or you're doing dishes or you're running out the door, and you just do it. But this, and you think you're going to come back or you're going to talk about it later, and then life happens. And we've all been in those situations, and every app is different. It's just last week I have one of my daughters, she's 11, and she wanted to download an app that I wasn't familiar with. It's supposed to be the kid version of TikTok or something. And that app required a video, me and her together, me giving her permission to download this app, and she was in the video with me, and then she had to upload the video. So I mean, it is just crazy how it varies from app to app to app. And so what this legislation, House Bill 226, Senate Bill 167 does, it's just a one-time age verification at the App Store level when you're setting up your device, your iPad, your phone for your minors, and you're in that App Store. It's one time that you're entering in their birth date, and so every app that they try to download from that point forward, it knows that Libby's only 11, Claire's 9, Sam's 17, whatever, and so every app is age appropriate for whatever was programmed at that initial time. And if you're a parent and you trust your kid and whatever, you can make that decision to say, hey, I'm gonna say that you're older than what you are because I trust you and I don't think you need all these restrictions, or I don't really want you to have full access to this, or I want you to be more limited in screen time or whatever, and I'm going to make your account younger than what it is, and I can come back at a different time, and I can change that. But what it does, it just mainstreams and streamlines everything, so it's one time, and you're not doing this hodgepodge of apps and age verifications and uploading videos or clicking on this, and it kind of gives you that peace of mind that you've done it, and every app from that point forward is going to be tailored to the age that you programmed that device for.
So would this be mandatory so that, if I didn't want to have to, let's say, my kid's 14. Well, he's not, but let's say he was, and I trust him implicitly, and I don't want to have to deal with approving all this stuff. Would I have no choice but to have this regulation on there, or would I have to set it up saying my son is older than what he is?
So I don't know what your son's finances or whatever it is. If he can go out and buy a phone, I mean, he's 14, so he's going to be a minor. I don't think he can set up his own phone line. I don't even know how all that works, but I'm assuming not. So you would still be the responsible guardian or, responsible financial person on that account. So you would, if you would want to, you would have authority to set that up, and you could set it up as, that he's 18, and that he's a full legal adult, and there should be no further restrictions. And, it's not considered a minor account at that point. And that's a decision, your child. That's kind of also the beauty of this legislation. It again gives the parents that total discernment. Hey, I'm going to trust you. I know you. I do have this implicit trust, so I'm not going to make this a minor account. I don't have that trust with any of my kids. And so I'm going to put some more guardrails on them until they are older and they kind of, they graduate past that 18 years of age. And then they're no longer a minor account, and they are, considered a legal, responsible adult in the eyes of the law.
Right. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. As you and I have both testified at the State House for many bills, begging for our rights as parents to be protected. Some could argue that this bill is an overreach, and this is the government trying to parent. What is your response to that?
So I think it's actually kind of the opposite, because it gives the parents, you are in the driver's seat. You're the one buying the device. You're the one very likely paying for it, because again, these minor accounts are kids under the age of 18 who, may or may not have jobs or a way of paying these bills. So it really just streamlines parents. I think, you all know as well as I do that these companies out there, these tech developers, these app developers, these conglomerates, it's so confusing. And, I don't think I'm that old, but I guess I am, because you just can't keep up with what is all going on. And it's intentional. I mean, it's intentionally confusing. It intentionally drives that wedge between parents and their kids, because the more that technology takes over, the more fast paced it is, parents kind of just give up and they're like, I don't even know what's going on. And then bad things happen. What this legislation does is it really puts the parents back in control. It says we are making this as simple as possible. It is a one-time age verification at the App Store level. You're going to do this one time. And the government's not going to come in and say, you have to do it this way, or you have to do it, we're not mandating how you do it, but you are going to have the freedom to choose. What age do you want to make these devices? You know your kid's the best. And so from that point forward, you're the parent in charge. The app developers can't make things so confusing. The tech companies can't make things confusing. And then all of a sudden you've got a situation where your 9-year-old is talking to a 45-year-old man in a chat room that you didn't even realize could happen, or, any other sort of really nefarious activity that's out there. And so, again, it's that parent's right to choose. If you want to make your 15-year-old device, a not minor one, and say, I trust you, I'm going to register this as 18. That's on the parent, and that's their absolute right to do. So it really kind of takes that government authority out of it, and it gives all full discernment to the parents.
So you kind of started down this path of describing how they kind of opt into this. Is there any way for the government or whomever is monitoring these apps? Is there a way for them to govern the app? How do they enforce this? You started to go down there, but you didn't quite go all the way. How is this actually enforced?
So actually, that's where a lot of these types of bills have failed, because I think there's this public outcry for, hey, this is like the wild, wild west right now with our kids and these social media apps, and how can this be happening? And, a lot of states have tried it. Ohio has tried it too in the past, where you try to put all these different regulations or parameters on it. And then the First Amendment activists come in, rightfully so, and say this is actually a freedom of speech issue. You can't infringe on someone's right to information and right to those communication avenues. But this model, because it's at the App Store level, it kind of circumvents a lot of those freedom of speech arguments. It has actually been upheld by the Supreme Court in the state of Utah. There was constitutional challenges to it, and the Supreme Court came and upheld it. And so this has really been a huge victory for this model legislation, which has now been introduced in a variety of different states now, obviously including here in Ohio, because there's judicial precedent that stands behind that this is constitutionally sound, that this has been vetted by the highest court in a state out there, and it has been deemed constitutional. And so that's why I think there's been such a good interest, and we have such strong champions in Senator Reynolds and Representative Miller, because again, it still protects, it does not infringe on those constitutional freedom of speech rights, but it still gives protections for parents for their minor kids.
Okay, so I guess I didn't hear what I was looking for. And I'm curious. So think back to the time we bought our first car when we were kids, right? We had our parents co-sign for us. This is kind of like that, right?
Yeah. If your kid was, underage, assuming, right? So you're saying a 16-year-old at that time?
Right.
Because a lot of because that's where it gets, interesting. You can co-sign when don't have good credit, and you might still be, your kid may be a legal adult at that point.
Right.
These are all for underage kids that have devices that are the parents' account.
So I guess I was looking for what's the actual accountability? If they actually have a parent with them, is the accountability on the parent?
So I think, Katie, correct me if I'm wrong. So the parent has bought the child a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they have the family plan with Verizon or T-Mobile.
Right.
So the parent is the legal owner of the phone and sets up these parameters on the App Store. Sets up the age verification in the phone. So kind of like the same thing if you take your kid to the Blockbuster, even though they don't exist anymore, and you say, okay, my kid can rent on my account G-rated PG movies. That's it. If they try to get something above PG, then the parents get a message. Hey, your kid wants to get an R-rated movie. Am I going down the right path, Katie?
That's exactly right. Yep. So these devices, my 11-year-old can't go into a T-Mobile store or a AT&T store and buy their own phone and set up their own phone plan. That's just not legal. So instead, I have to go and give her an old phone. She has to be on my phone program, and I am, in the eyes of AT&T, I am the customer. And I have all these devices, but I am financially and legally the guardian of all of them. And so when I set them up, they don't care that one's for Sam, one's for Maggie, one's for Charlie, they just know that, Kathleen and Timothy, you have all of these devices, you are paying for this number of phone lines a month. And then what we do with them is our own discernment. So we're setting Sam up as a, 17-year-old. And, with this legislation, I would set him up according to his age. And the apps would then be kind of all custom to the fact that he is 17. So they would all be appropriate and age appropriate with content and restrictions or whatever else, the app content has for him. And that would be different content, different access, different restrictions, different length of time for my 9-year-old. But it's all at the time of phone setup. It's a one-time age verification at the App Store versus every app having their own verification system. It's so hodgepodge, and in terms of, cybersecurity or, what you will, every time you're entering in your kid's email address or their birth date, you're entering that into, 20 different apps. You have no idea who the app, who's behind, the Oz behind all of these. And that makes you much more prone to security risk. And so that's another kind of advantage of this legislation, that it's happening at the App Store level. And these app stores are much more legitimate. They're owned by the tech companies. And so they've got higher, you hope, and I guess I'm banking on that, they have, higher security parameters in place than some of these, new apps that you have no idea where this information's going or how it's going to be used or how it's not going to be used. So again, there's also a kind of a cybersecurity advantage to minimizing how many times you're putting your child's name and birth date and any other information out there into this big, wide internet world.
Okay, so here's my next question, and I'll preface it with this. When it comes to technology, our kids outsmart us. They know it so much better. My own son, when he was 13, and he's 19 now, I had installed an app, one of those trackers, if you will. It would tell me where he was. If he tried to log into a specific app that I had designated no, it would send me a message. And he outsmarted me. He kept factory resetting the phone. So every time he did that, it uninstalled the app that I had put in. So are there ways for kids to get around this?
Yeah, I mean, and I can't promise that. I know I was talking to somebody last week about this piece of legislation too. Kids are smart, and hackers are smart, and so this is the one. Is it perfect? Probably not. Will it have to get tweaked maybe in a year, 2 years? Will this legislation, if passed, when passed, will it also have to get amended to kind of meet new technology evolutions and advancements? Probably. But as far as what they have seen and modeled in other states, this has seemed to be the most common sense approach to getting the end result for parents that they can. And again, threads that needle between all of these constitutional protections that, you and all of us on this call also feel very passionately about, your free speech and those protections, but also going back to the safety of your minors, and trying to be parents to these minor consumers. So it really walks it's that delicate balance, and they figured that out. I do think that, again, when you're setting up the phone for that first time, that seems to be the time that parents have to do it. I don't know about factory reset. I can check into that. I don't know if you would think that would be a little bit too easy, because even I know that one. So that's a good question, Lisa. I'll have to check into that.
So it sounds like the bill is pretty much being set up and trying to get pushed through as like an introductory to general acceptance.
I think it's starting the conversation for sure. And I know
Right.
there are competing. I know there's another legislative avenue being pushed too. And I don't know enough about that legislation, but I just know that what drew Ohio Women Lead Right to House Bill 226 and Senate Bill 167 is the fact that it has judicial precedent, and that has been the downfall of every other bill in every other state out there, including Ohio. You get so far and you get excited and you think, okay, this is going to happen, and we're going to finally have some sort of common sense approach to social media and what we're doing with our apps with these kids and blah blah blah, and then it's overruled and the law can never be enacted. With this legislation and with this language, it's been upheld, it's been vetted, it's been proven constitutional. And so that's why I think, Senator Reynolds is in law school. I know that was an important element to her, that she doesn't want to pass. No one wants to pass bills and put in all of that effort and, work the process that hard for their bill, to never actually be enacted and to never actually get imparted into public policy. So I know that was important to her as well.
One last question. Does this bill have support from Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and those guys?
So I don't know. Did you? I can't even remember. It's been so long ago. I was going to testify on this bill, but I had to leave early. The committee in the House got started really late, and I had to go back for a 4th grade graduation, and I live like 2 hours from Columbus. So I actually left in the middle of the committee. So I don't remember who all testified there. And I think, Lisa, you were in that committee hearing, if I remember correctly.
No,
but
not that
one. There was a representative from Meta there. And so I know that Meta is supportive of it from the App Store side. And what I remember from the very short window of testimony that I did hear was that, this woman that represented Meta, they understood what an important role they were playing in kids' lives. I mean, you can't get around technology, and it's just, you try to minimize it, and you can try to manage it as responsibly as you can. But, I send my 5 kids to the school bus, and they all have like Chromebooks. I feel like I'm sending miniature CEOs to school because they're all walking, with their school issued Chromebook, because all of their schoolwork is now online. And so school, extracurricular activities, their sports, their schedules, all of their stuff it's all app and technology dependent. And so the woman from Meta really acknowledged, like, we understand that we have to be a responsible player here too. The more that we take over and have a huge impact on these kids, and she herself was a mom. And so she was able to view it from that lens too. And so that was the only testimony that I've heard from one of the tech companies or the app developers, was from Meta, and they are supportive of Bill 226 and Senate Bill 167.
Sounds good. Well, Katie, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. We greatly appreciate it.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys. Thanks for having these types of avenues. I think they're so important. So I appreciate you both.
No worries. Our pleasure. Thank you.